This thing's picking up my phone. You ever hear that that buzzing thing? It's the phone. If you ever, for anybody who ever does anything on the internets, don't put your phone next to electronic gear. The circuitry inside the audio gear picks this shit up, and you hear. If you hear that over your ear cans, move your cell phone away from the audio gear. It's too much audio for this situation. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the GCTV. I gotta look here, not there, here, not there, here, not there, here, not there. Doing it live! What is up, hands in the frame, Rob. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the GCTV Robservation. I'm your host and master of ceremonies, Darkside Rob, and it is good to see you here this weekend. Welcome to the show. I don't have that much to say, so I'm just going to jump into some of the cool stuff that's going on here on the web with regards to video games, because that's what we do. We have a conversation here about video games, the goings-on in the industry, and stuff that's happening all over the web. And one of the big topics going on right now, the thing that's sort of blowing the minds of people who are in the video game industry, who have been operating around this industry for a very long time, is E3 is going public, kind of, sort of, maybe, a little bit, kind of. They're doing some weird things, but E3... the event to end all events, the be-all and end-all of the video game industry, some might say not. E3, the Electronic Entertainment Expo, the big retail, media, and press event for the video game industry every year, is doing something a little different this year in response to some feedback that they got from doing a live event outside of the show floor at last year's E3. They're planning on doing a sale for public access tickets, which is something they have never done in the almost 20-year history of E3 now. I think the first E3 started in 1993, 94, 95, something like that. So it's probably even longer than that. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, E3 has always been a press, media, retail, and industry event only. It has never had any public days. They have never sold public tickets. So this is a big new thing for them to try. And here are some of the details of what they're planning to do. I got all these off of an article from PC Gamer. I will link that PC Gamer article down in the description below. But this is kind of fucking crazy what they're doing. So they're going to have a set of public tickets set aside that they're going to start selling on Monday. They're going to have 15,000 tickets. If you buy one on Monday, it's $150 for general admission. That gives you access to the floor. That gives you the access to some discussions that are going on. You can go and get in line to play some of the games. A couple of things that it won't give you access to. It won't give you access to the meeting rooms that are usually up on the second floor of the LA Convention Center. It won't give you access to behind closed doors interviews on the show floor. And, you know, basically, if you're not media, press, or anything like that, you won't be able to, like, set aside time to have interviews with people and things like that. But that's not what you're there to go there for. If you're a consumer and want to be on the floor and go check out games before they're going to be available to play them any other way, then this is kind of your thing. So Monday they're going to go on sale for $150, and then after that they're going to go up to $250, but that's still pretty damn reasonable in price for 3 days of awesome video game access, because before that, you either had to be in the industry, or if you were in a related field, the ticket cost as much as $800. And that was if you were in a related field. And they said, like, you couldn't go to it. And so $150 for a 3-day event is pretty fucking great. I mean, that's a nice price for that. But here's the thing. There's only 15,000 tickets. Now, well, actually, let me finish on one other thing first. So one of the reasons this all happened was because, as I said, last year they did an E3 live event outside of the show floor. It was outside, I think it was located directly outside the Staples Center, which is nearby the LA Convention Center. That is the extent of my LA geographical knowledge, where things are located. Once I get out of that area, I'm like, I have no fucking clue where I am. But basically, the response from that was that people who went to that event really kind of had hoped that it would give them access to the show floor. And apparently the response from publishers was, well, why don't we just let them come into the show and actually check out the games and talk to people who are working the booths and let's get them fucking in the door. Maybe this will help, get people buying more games and shit like that. And so the ESA, the governing body that runs the show, that organizes the show, which has been looking at new ways to up attendance, because now they are competing with a lot of other shows. You have 3 different PAXs. You've got, a bunch, the IndieCade shows. You've got, I'm trying to think what you got. Gamescom, you've got Tokyo Game Show, which has been unfortunately diminishing in size every year, but you've also got their games showing up occasionally at CES. You've got stuff showing up at South by Southwest. You've got some shows that aren't directly focused on selling video games, but I can't even think of some of those. You'll see video games at Dragon Con or VidCon or MagFest or things like that. So you've got a lot of conventions going on every year, and E3 used to be the only one. E3 used to be the pinnacle. It was the tip of the spear when it came to getting news out about video games. And now it's sort of like the other big show, but that's mentioned between PAXs. And I think the ESA is trying to make it more relevant again. Now, here's the thing for me as somebody who's been to, I think I've been to 4 E3s. I was at 2009, 2010, 2012, 2013. I think those were the years. They're roughly something like that. Now, when it comes to E3, E3 has got a lot of good things about it and a lot of bad things about it. The good stuff. So when you're there, you are basically there with a lot of people who are all there for the same reason. You're not necessarily fighting with people who are just showing up just to play games. You are jockeying with other, media people, with other content creators, with other, quote unquote journalism side of the industry, but also people who are fans of video games and trying to get content out to people to let people know about what's coming, what's coming around the corner in the year of said E3. Now, the thing that's interesting about this is that we who operate in the video game world all the time, always analyzing every bit of news, always checking out every fact, always looking at everything that developers are pushing out, the publishers are sharing with us, all of that content, when we look at it every single day, it's really apparent to us what's going on. But sometimes it's harder for Joe and Jane video gamer to get on board or stay interested in everything that's going on for a lot of different reasons. That's one of the good things about E3, that it's there for people to sort of get them the information they need. The bad thing is that you tend to get all of your information from E3 through press conferences and through videos of people at the show. I've always felt, especially more and more in the last couple of years, that E3's weakness is the very thing that opening it up to the public is like its Achilles heel. It's hard enough to get to play stuff at E3 when it's just everybody's on the same page and everybody here is like, well, it's either a member of the industry, a member of the press, or a member of the media. Once you start opening it up to the public, now you've got an even harder job to do, because you've got to get as many media people through as you can. You've got to get through as many public people as you can, and you only have a finite amount of time to do it. And I think the other thing that's sort of like the big problem with an E3 media extravaganza like the Electronic Entertainment Expo in the world we live in today is that exclusives and like news breaking and things that are surprises and things that we don't expect don't stay hidden. They don't. They're broken to the street like way before the events actually happen. So even when you have something cool to show, the hope being that you'll bring it to E3 and it'll be like, we're gonna make this awesome announcement, and then it's like 3 weeks before E3 somebody leaks it to the internet, because it's impossible for anybody to keep a trade secret in this industry anymore. And that's just a fact of living in an always on internet connected world. And so it leads me back to this bigger discussion on E3 that's been happening for years and years and years now, since they moved it to Santa Monica, then they brought it back to LA, then they put it back in the convention center, when they got rid of Kensha Hall, when it companies started leaving E3, you now have EA and you have I think Nintendo may have pulled out. They had a presence on the show floor this last E3, but they didn't do a standard press conference. You have Activision no longer being involved on the show floor. You have other, the relevancy when it comes to what an E3 is in a world of 8 billion PAXs begs the question. So do people really want to go to E3? And when they go to E3, will it still be the thing that people were like, my God, I'm at the video game mecca? And I just don't know. Again, I love E3 and I hate E3 for almost the same reasons. It's a great way to find out about things that are going on in the industry, but it is also sort of a front to back weird show where even when you're walking around it and you see people playing games and you're talking to people, everything that's going on feels so rote and scripted and set up and focus tested and figured out. And even when you're playing something or interviewing somebody or talking to somebody, it all feels like, well, this is sort of the box that we can talk about things in. This is all we're showing today. We're not letting out any information. Anything that you wanted to ask us or talk about to us, we got a PR guy like right over here who can't. And all of that sort of the red tape of E3 makes it as interesting and fun as it is frustrating and annoying. And it happens every year, and every year I think, oh cool, we'll be able to get somebody on the ground to really talk about this. And like for me, the perfect example, the best example of one of these things that ever happened was, I remember I was doing an interview one year on the ground for people who were working on Ori and the Blind Forest, which is one of my favorite games the last couple of years, and maybe of this entire current generation that we're going through. And this was a game that was made by people all over the planet. There like nobody was in I think it was Moon Studios that made the game. And this was the first time at this E3 that they had been in the same room together, talking about this game. And I was talking to one of the art designers about it. And I was like, let's get you on camera talking about this. And the people who were showing the game, and I don't want to say that it was a Microsoft decision, but the people who were showing the game at the booth took the artist, who I think would have been more interesting to talk to, away and put a person from the publishing team in front of the camera to talk about the game. So he had nothing, he played no part, this person played no part in developing the game, creating the game, making the game whatsoever. All he was involved with was making sure that the messaging that got out to you guys was focused on point with what they wanted to send out about that game. And it was really frustrating to me because the questions that I wanted answered by developer, who was now over by the demo station, could not be answered by the guy that I was interviewing. And it was like the most E3-ass E3 moment that I've had in the entire time that I've ever been at E3. And it's one of those things that, like, if I had gone to a PAX, or if I had gone to DICE, or if I had gone to, or any of the indie mega booths at PAX or Indiecade, or, one of these smaller conventions, and actually talk to a developer, those are the things that I always feel like are the most interesting things to talk to. And even in this last PAX that I went to, where I did not have media access, I ended up talking to a lot of developers, a lot of musicians, a lot of people who are making small games as well as large games, and really talking to the people who are on the ground, hands-on, nuts and bolts, making sure that these games become the thing that they want it to become. And it's so much more interesting than talking to a PR mouthpiece. It is so much more enjoyable and engaging and fun, and seeing somebody talk about the product that they're working on, and the lights in their eyes just go beam, talk about cool shit. So that sort of brings me full circle around to the area where E3 is great, and E3 is also kind of like lost its luster, because where it used to be this great only source, it was the one place you could go to get the information that you thought you needed about the game or games or developers or projects that you wanted to find out more about. The truth is that in 2017, it doesn't necessarily hold the same kind of status that it did. So for me, the thing that's going to be interesting is how many people are going to, like, out of the gate go get tickets for this show. Again, 15,000 tickets. It sounds like a lot, but when you think about how many people are going to go to this show in addition to these 15,000 tickets, it is, but it isn't. Secondly, is this extra group of people that E3 has never dealt with before going to make E3 a harder show to navigate for people who are there trying to work? That includes people who are talking to companies about, stocks of video games, like how are we going to get it to our stores? How are we going to sell it? Are we putting this on digital distribution or otherwise? These questions that need to be answered by asked by people who are in the industry? And is it also going to be harder for people to navigate who are there trying to report and talk to developers, talk to publishers and creative people and the people who are, working the booth, who have the answers that, people are asking questions about? Is that going to make that job more difficult for them? And then thirdly, are people ultimately going to be, impressed or disappointed by where the show is standing, depending on who's there, who's not, and what stuff comes out around E3? Again, there's a lot of different shows that go on both before and after. And when you don't go to an E3 anymore, or ever, or if you're going to one and you skip another year, what starts to become apparent to you, or at least it's become apparent to me, is that if you don't make it to one show, you can go to another show and something, maybe not all of the things you're looking for, will be at that other event. Games that, show stuff early in the year, later on, they may not have quite as big of a presence at E3 or PAX West, or games that want to hold off on stuff from E3 tend to show stuff at Gamescom, Tokyo Game Show, and PAX West. And, people are sort of staggering when things are coming out and looking at the year and going, we don't have to lump everything into the summer. It's the same kind of lesson that people have been learning from how games are released, where we don't have to lump everything into the back 4 months of the year. And the summer doesn't have to be a doldrum. And the first 3 months of the year, we don't have to front load everything either before or after, March fiscal. So I'm totally not against a general access ticket to E3. I think this is something that has been coming for years, and the ESA has been slow to adopt it for many reasons, because it's one of the last US-based video game trade shows that is, industry only. And there has been a purpose for that focus in the past, but clearly they're seeing, and I think we on the outside, or on the periphery, have been seeing for years, that this is probably an inevitability. But is it too little too late? Is it at this point something where, unlike a Gamescom where they've had press days and public days, now the idea of it is that, well, E3 has been so pretentious, whether that's the thing that it is or isn't, for so long, and being like, oh, this is the elite group that only gets to go because they know a guy who knows a guy, or somebody is working on a team, or the truth, which is that people who are working at big outlets, or report on video games every single day, or live and breathe this shit, get to go. Has that ruined E3 for everybody because the video gamers found another way through PAX, through other smaller shows, through just having so much access to all this stuff via the internet, via YouTube, via Vimeo, via Reddit, via wherever you get your information from? That is E3 really the brass ring of conventions to go to anymore? So it's a weird time. It's a great time. It's an interesting time. It's never been a better time to be a video gamer. But I would be interested to know, does having a public pass that you can buy to E3 make you interested in going? Do you think you will buy a pass this year? Do you think that it's too much, too little? Are you surprised that they're only charging $150, $250 for it? And do you think E3 still has the weight to it that it used to in the past, or does it not hold a candle to some of those newer public shows that have always been front-facing and always made it clear that it's about you guys, the consumers, and less about the content creators and the journalists and all those other people coming to get a news story, that people want to come out and talk to you guys and see what you think about their games? On the same note, I want to hear what you guys are saying, because this is not just me ranting into a microphone, although it might look like that from the outside, but this is a dialogue with you guys that I want to have, because I'm very curious about what you guys think about a public event E3, where people can come in from the outside, buy a ticket. Here's my ticket. Let me go play some video games. So I think that's where I'm going to leave this observation. I think I need to also mention that I'm kind of disappointed that I set up a vacation directly on the week of E3. I was like, well, I probably will go to at least 2 PAXs this year. I don't necessarily feel like it's necessary. That's a redundant statement. I don't necessarily feel like I have to be at E3 this year. I'm sure, this won't be a very different E3 from any other E3 the last couple of years. They've sort of been, going by the thing, and then all of a sudden, hey, guess what? Guess what, guys? We're doing something completely different this year that you've never seen before. We're opening it up to the public. I would fucking love just to be on the show floor to ask people, like, how do you feel about getting to E3? Like, you have the ability to get to E3 now. How cool, like, is that good or bad for you? So I'm kind of, personally, I'm like, oh my God, I'm such an idiot. But at the same time, like, E3 just drains me every time I go. Every time I come back from a PAX East or West, I always feel like that was fucking awesome. I feel so jazzed. I feel so connected to cool people, and I, saw cool things, talked to cool people, had good interviews, had a good time, hung out with people who are fans of the YouTube channel and the Twitch channel. And every time I come back from E3, I'm like, fucking hell, I don't want to play a video game for like 3 months. I'm just so tired. Which is not to say that it's not a good show, but it's a whole, like, people go to E3 to fucking work. And people go to PAX, yeah, they're working too, but it's a different vibe. And I'm interested to see what a public act, like, just from a convention standpoint. When you're in the LA Convention Center, it is a dark, like, super overlit, hyper fucking sensitive, like hypersensitive overload to your senses. And when I'm at PAX East specifically, because that's the only one I've ever been to, something about the Boston Convention Center, it's a little more open, a little airier, it's not quite so claustrophobic, there's light coming in, you don't feel like you're in a fucking dungeon of video game LED loud explosion sounds just banging, blasting out of every corner of every part of the convention hall. And it's just, people are much more intense at E3. It's more intensity at E3, I think, because again, people are like working every minute of every day there, and it's a marathon. It's actually, no, it feels more like a sprint than a marathon. I equate PAX and all that stuff to being a sprint, and E3, it's a fucking, I just got them backwards again. I consider E3 to be a sprint to the finish line to get everything done, and PAX and all that stuff, it's a marathon. You go slow, you sort of take your time, you look at what you want to see, you scope out what you want to do, and you go do that, and you push the other stuff aside. And E3, you don't have that luxury. You have to try to get to as many damn things as you possibly can, and sometimes that is just not, that's just not something you're going to be able to do. So I think with that, I'm going to actually truly end their observation here on this one. I know there are a lot of people right now looking at all this going like, this is fucking insane. This is crazy that they're doing public days at E3. And, there are other people look at that and go, well, it's just a trade show. But it's like, no, it's kind of a big deal, but we're gonna find out how much of an effect that's gonna have on this show. And with that, I want to thank you guys for watching. If you guys have any comments, thoughts, or any opinions, questions, ideas, queries about this whole public E3 show thing that's happening now, I hope you guys will consider hitting up the comments section down below. I would love to see what you guys think about it. It's just fucking bonkers. It's really, 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 I have a lot of thoughts about this, and I can't even fit them all into a 20-minute video. I'm gonna have to really chop the shit out of this thing. Additionally, if you guys are enjoying these videos, I do hope you will consider clicking the like button, and if you like what we're doing here on the channel, I do hope you guys will consider clicking the subscribe button. We really do appreciate it here. It helps out the channel more than you can possibly imagine, because there will be more Robservations and other videos coming up on this channel in the future. I also, if you noticed, I changed the lighting situation here because I think people were getting tired of the very darkly lit. Anyway, lights, better, good, nice, focus. And that's going to do it for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching. This has been The Robservation, episode 9, all about E3 public access, which is fucking just crazy. So again, comments, like, subscribe, and do all of those things that I always ask of you, and I will appreciate it. Oh, the words. And I will appreciate it, and I will be humble for it, and thank you for it. And without further ado, that's going to do it for me. I'm going to get out of here by giving you guys the motto, the business, as it were, that I always do here on the channel. Keep playing those video games. Stay safe, everybody. Be good to each other. Again, now more than ever, be good to each other. I will see you guys in the next Robservation. Enjoy, have fun, laugh, be merry, and until next time, peace out. I can't believe I booked a vacation during E3 on an E3 that I thought was gonna just be boring as all fucking hell, and it could still be, but it's like, dude, why you do this to me? Why do you do this to me? You drive me crazy, ESA. It's gonna be, I can already tell this is gonna be a wild year. All right, peace out, guys.